Welcome to the Real Estate Voice. It is Kurt, the Real Estate Slayer, coming at you live in action. Yes, we are back with another one. So, we have been speaking on marketing within the real estate wholesaling industry lately and just different ways to market your business. Let's back up just a little bit here. Let's talk about is real estate wholesaling legal or is it not legal? And that's the fact if you need a license, if you don't need a license as well. So, in your state, in the U.S., basically, wholesaling is legal in majority of the states. And I say that majority because some states it's not legal in. But at the end of the day, I'm in Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina is also legal states where you can wholesale at. So when I say legal, that means that you do not have to have a real estate license in order to buy and sell a property. You can get a real estate license, but you don't have to have one necessarily. Kurt, the Real Estate Slayer, does have a real estate license. But before I received my real estate license, I closed out on 3 deals, wholesaling deals, before I actually applied to even start studying for the test. What that means is that you do not need a license, but if you want to gain the knowledge and know the laws, the regulations, and also be able to list homes, then you can also retain your license. But in other words, if you don't want to have a license, that's okay as well because you don't need a license in majority of the states in order to wholesale property. Okay, so when you're actually wholesaling the property, the reason why you don't need a license is because you have to form an entity. So it could be an LLC, it can be an S corp, it can be in a nonprofit, whatever type of entity you want to form in that regards. And then when you're actually doing these contracts, you're not putting your actual name on the contract, you're putting the entity name. So let's say you start a business and it's called Whirlpool Real Estate Investments. That's what would go on the contracts in order for you to assign it to a cash investor or a buyer. Okay, so you wouldn't necessarily use your name, you would use an entity type in order to make sure the transaction goes through a LLC, S corp, C corp, whatever you decide to form. Okay, now with that being said, the legalities of it, you would want to know what you can and can't do within your state. You never want to lie. You never want to cheat. You never want to steal. You never want to force anyone to do anything as well. Okay. You want to make sure the transaction works for all parties at all times, not just for you, not just for the seller, not just for the buyer. Okay. You want to make it work for all 3 of your parties, like a triangle. So with that being said, if the seller is not in a position where they don't want to sell their property, then it's okay to tell that seller, it's okay to call me in 6 months when you are ready, or a year out when you are ready, instead of trying to force them into doing something they don't want to do. Same thing on the buyer side. You don't want to lie to a buyer and tell them this is what the property has and this is what it don't has if you don't have the actual facts. You want to know the actual facts before you express the interest for the property to the buyer. So it's all has to come together. It all has to make sense. And that's the way that you're actually going to be ethical in this business as well. I pride myself on a lot of integrity, doing something when no one else is watching. So that's what I respect for everyone else and expect from everyone else. That if I'm watching or if anyone else watching, then you would do the same thing if they wasn't watching. So that's the benefit of making sure that you can actually market in those 5 ways that if you look at the videos prior to this one, you'll see that there's 5 different ways that you can market in this business. And just make sure you do it in an ethical way as well. And let's make it happen. So what I like for you to do, like, share, and subscribe to this video. And, just put it on replay for your family members, or, tell them to like it, or grab their iPhone and say, hey, call this voice. It's the real estate voice. So like I said, we're going to have live people on here. We're going to be able to hear your voice, your opinions, any question that you may have. And we're going to have people on here interviewing as well, just to make sure that everyone is we in this as a community. This is a community, and we build it from ground up. And I'm going to need your help in order to build this channel. So I appreciate you, and I will see you again tomorrow.